Good morning and welcome to Pep Talks in the Morning. It is Wednesday, the 20th of May. My name is Felicia Holder, chairman of the the Progressive Empowerment Party. For those of you who want to know who the PEP is, fully named the Progressive Empowerment Party, chairman of the PEP. And joining me this morning is Mr. Anthony Defoe, PEP deputy political leader. Good morning, Anthony.
Good morning, Felicia. Good morning, Peppers. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. What a fine morning it is today. Yes.
It is a fine morning. And first things first, I want to say thank you to everybody for all of the birthday wishes. You all are some absolutely amazing people. And I am making it my duty to respond to everybody one by one, even if I like it, just to acknowledge that I am very gracious for all of the wishes. Thank you very much for that. And secondly, I want to apologize for not being here yesterday after I stated clearly on Monday that I was coming in. Unfortunately, I am not Superwoman, and as much as I try to be Superwoman, I eventually have to touch down on earth sometimes. And when I do, I am. Yesterday, I was absolutely tired. I did need that rest. Even on what was my birthday, it was a weekend day to an extent. So yesterday, I took that day off, and I want to thank you for being understanding. But trust me, I am very happy to be back this morning, back discussing what seems like the never ending saga. I mean, Anthony, I don't know if you grew up, if you spent time at your grandparents' homes when you were younger, but I know growing up with my grandmother, one of the things that I was forced to watch because she was watching it was Young and Restless and Bold and Beautiful. And I look at those shows 20 years later now, and I swear to God, they picked up from the storyline because it just seems to be going on and on and on and on. This is exactly what this saga with Stuart Young and the ambassador now who has jumped into the mix. And this story with Miss Delcy Rodriguez and her visit to Trinidad on the 27th of March this year. Now, like I say, I keep thinking that is going away, but then Stuart Young keeps finding a way to land himself in even hotter water. And I mean, I hope you have your tea ready to sip because it's very hot. I was reading the responses. I was reading the response of the U.S. Ambassador to the United States, who officially responded yesterday on May the 18th, and he gave his account of what happened. Now, for those who are not aware, Stuart Young would have said that he knew nothing about the U.S. ambassador speaking about breaking of any treaty or anything like that. So the last thing that he said was because the information was out in the public space that we would have breached the Rio Treaty that we signed with them back in the 1970s. And Stuart Young is claiming, or was claiming, that and Anthony are jumping in just now, he was claiming that there was no convo about a breach of treaties. Now, we have a response from the United States ambassador, and please take this moment to hit share, like, so we can get everybody joining the conversation. The ambassador responds and says, normally, I do not comment on private conversations with host government officials. Since the government has spoken publicly about my May 6th conversation with Minister Young, though, I wish to affirm that I expressed concern to the minister in that conversation about the consistency of Delcy Rodriguez's visit to Port of Spain with Trinidad and Tobago's obligation as a party to the Rio Treaty. Article 20 of the treaty makes it unambiguously clear. I like that word. It makes it unambiguously clear that all measures imposed by the organ of consultation, like travel restrictions on Ms. Rodriguez, are binding on all treaty parties, whether or not they voted in favor of such measures. Now, for those who may not have been a part of the conversation, Trinidad and Tobago did not sign the treaty. We abstained from voting. We were one of 19 countries, 17 voted in favor 16 voted in favor of the sanctions on Venezuela. We did not vote. I believe Cuba voted no and Uruguay abstained. Now, Anthony, like I said, the saga continues. And Trinidad and Tobago is once again looking to their Minister of National Security, like, when are you going to finally come clean on what is happening?
Well, Felicia, again, good morning to you, and your post belated birthday and all that good stuff. But to the issue at hand, um, where can we start with this, boy? Because we look at the history showing that, like you said, we voted against the motion years ago. It's interesting to know we made such a motion, and the group of countries that also followed suit, such as Cuba, as you said. Uruguay is the other country that abstained.
I
So
believe
they did
it's
not
Europe.
they didn't uh, vote a nay vote. So it's between Trinidad and Cuba having a negative vote to the motion. It's interesting for me to have an idea as to what was the actual reasoning why Trinidad did not want to vote in favor for that motion in that point in time. That's neither here nor there, but again, it's just my curiosity, kind of killing the cat right now where that is concerned. But again, for Stuart Young and the government of the day to have such a fiasco taking place right now, especially where the Venezuelans are concerned and the Americans, it's just again signs of incompetence, because if they can't come out openly and say, well, listen, internationally, we as a government have made a mistake, or we've had our systems that has been inefficient in providing us the level of information we needed for this ensemble of a situation. Um, because this here is it's an international problem. We're dealing with America, Venezuela, and Trinidad and Tobago. These are three sovereign countries. These are three nations that's in the Western Hemisphere. And again, it's about diplomatic dialogue, taking motions and steps, especially in an environment like what we are operating under, where America has placed sanctions on Venezuela. And for Trinidad's government to be ignorant to the fact of that and still choose to conduct business and have talks with Venezuela without having any type of discussion with your partners. Again, we said this before in a couple shows gone. Um, as your partners in the region, you need to have some kind of dialogue, especially with the most important partner that you're supposed to have, which is the U.S. You are supposed to let these people know, well, here what, we got a call from Venezuela's diplomats, and they would like to come and have a meeting with us. We're not too sure exactly what the agenda is, but we can fill you in as time goes along. Again, it's a matter of communication, international diplomatic bloody communication. So if
Yeah.
you are telling me that it is not a level of incompetence by your administration with the handling of this whole situation that we are dealing with as a nation, it shows now that it must be an underhanded deal that really was taking place. Why there was so much secrecy, so much deflection, nobody could answer a question straightforward and to the truth, because we are seeing here now, time and time again, all the lies that has been placed into the public for the public to consume, put it in the pipe and smoke it and say, okay. Again, I give thanks to the Progressive Empowerment Party and its machinery being able to scrutinize what is happening on the ground, because we are one of, I mean, there are a couple other entities and NGOs on the ground in Trinidad, but the Progressive Empowerment Party is one of the leading entities that is bringing information like this into the public, scrutinizing the environment that we live and operate in here in Trinidad and Tobago. And I mean, at the end of the day, we cannot be blind and stupid to this anymore. We cannot, because they are taking us as a nation, speaking in on behalf of the people, and bringing us into this position. We are in a place where we are supposed to be redeveloping our country without any other type of mishaps or structures in front of us for us to overcome. We're supposed to try to create an environment where we have a seamless transition into what it is we are trying to redevelop for Trinidad and Tobago, because the international environment where business and economics is concerned is not the same as before. So what it is we doing by creating this new problem and headache where we probably might get slapped with sanctions. Our nationals would have even greater problems acquiring visas and so on to conduct business and see a family and everything else. This is a ripple effect that is going to affect the entire nation as a whole. Business people having problems now to get the stock that they've had they may have had as a signature item that they have to acquire from the US or trade or what have you. If we have sanctions, what are we going to do? It is a ripple effect across the board for business people, across small, medium, large, everybody. So nobody is sitting down and thinking about this. And we are now talking about, we have what, 22 of the dream team and the dream team to redevelop Trinidad and Tobago. What else? You hear anything else concerning that? I still say no, I'm trying here to wait to find out what it is these people are talking about. How the hell are we really going to redevelop Trinidad and Tobago? And at which point, which step are they planning to insert the small and medium-sized business environment, business people, business models into this redevelopment initiative that they have, that they talk about? Again, is more show, is more crap being placed in we pipe and telling we is ice cream. That is all it is. That is all it is.
It really seems to be like that, and I'm reading the part because Stuart Young, well, he responds because, like I say, this is a never-ending saga of Young and Restless or Bold and Beautiful or something, because it's ongoing, this discussion now. He has finally responded and he's saying, I never said that. And I'm actually watching the article where he literally says, and that's the headline of the article, I never said that. And I keep thinking, this man, and Anthony, I was telling you before the show that I was almost feeling sorry for him, and you were like, no, you're not. And then in my mind, I was like, no, I'm not. I'm trying to, I have a question, and I'm putting this out to the public and to you as well. Why in this entire back and forth saga, we have the Minister of National Security talking and not the Minister of Foreign Affairs? In this, all of these diplomatic relations, why are we not hearing from Mr. Moses? Why isn't he the one having this back and forth? And I mean, at what point are they going to come out and support Stuart Young? Because Stuart Young seems to be that man in the middle of the ocean, watching all his friends on the shoreline, and he's literally calling out for help. Like I can
He
almost
put
hear the
himself there.
pleas for help.
He put
I can
himself
almost
there,
hear
Felicia.
the pleas for help. No, of course he did. But I'm just talking metaphorically, how it seems to be like this man is drowning and nobody is reaching out with a life
Yeah,
raft.
nobody cares.
And I mean, he now has to eat his words and say, I wasn't talking about the fact that the treaty wasn't discussed. I said, and you can find it in the hands around, you can find that I said um, that there was no talk about a breach of treaty, not that the treaty was never raised. And I think about the amount of effort it must take to have to go back and find your own words and find a way you can twist your own words to make the new truth sound. You understand what I
But
mean?
let me tell you, that is where the media now have failed the people. The machinery of the media is failing what it actually is there to do. Because if that has been the case, then media now was supposed to go into their archives and itemize exactly what was said as time went along, show to the public exactly what the government is doing and what they are saying and how they are lying to the population. Why is the media have not done that yet? Why has TV3 or TV6 or the Express or all the newspapers and media houses for that matter have not taken that and made that an actual story that we can follow as time goes on. Because if Stuart Young said at 3 weeks ago that it was for a COVID-19 visit, and then 2 weeks ago he turned around and say, well, it's for a refugee visit, and then now a week ago, you're coming and saying that it was gas deals, or we did was talking some type of energy talks. The point is that the media is supposed to itemize these things and show it every night. Hey, this is what your Minister of National Security was saying in the news conference. Mr. Young, you are not being on par with us because this is what you had said before, and so on and so on and so on. But that is not the environment where media is concerned, and information dispensation to the public is non-existent where media is concerned. That is their job, but they are choosing their stories very, very carefully. They're choosing their narrative as well very, very carefully as to how they are putting information out there where the public is concerned. Now, again, I am not trying to tell any media house how to run their business, but I am just saying take models from around the world with non-biased, very democratic and open media houses, and see how they conduct business for the people of the nations that they operate in. And the point is that you have to follow your stories. You have to scrutinize what is being said, especially by government, because government is doing everything in the name of the people. That's the bottom line. Nobody ain't doing it on their own accord. This is why I still wonder how the heck it is we lost a sugar industry. How the heck we have lost our oil industry. How did we lose our train system for mass transit? How did these things happen if this was the assets of the people of the country? And if we have seen that has taken place over the past to present, we the people now have to find an entity that can help restructure how we operate, how we do things in Trinidad and Tobago to again safeguard the true assets of the nation for the people. Because again, if we are talking development, we need to have certain resources and assets going forward into the future to help us move our nation forward, to help us be in a better position, being more self-sufficient, having a level of strength and power for ourselves as a nation, man. As a nation, we couldn't be boasting being an industrial giant for decades, and we have nothing to show as a population, as a people, as a nation in the year 2020, talking about we have $6 billion US in the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. There is thing to be ashamed to talk about, to say the kind of money passing through Trinidad, the kind of resources we've had, the type of booms our nation has experienced, something that no other country in the world has been able to be fortunate to boast about. But Trinidad was able to boast that. But yet, the people still can't get food today in a pandemic that, again, we didn't ask for. We didn't decide to stay home. It's our commander-in-chief that tell us to stay home, close your business, safeguard yourself. That is the protocol we are placing on the nation. But yet, you as the government, you as the prime minister, commander-in-chief, could not come out and put systems in place to ensure that every single home in the nation was addressed, and you had information on the particulars as to every family across the board, because that is your job, brother. That is what you're there for. You are not representing PNM being in that government, man. You are a government. You are representing red, white, and black. And that is the bottom line. And you have to seek the interests of all. Whether you have money, middle class, lower class, upper class, it does not matter. And that is the reality as to what we are supposed to be living as a people in Trinidad. Not this madness that these people think that is king and queen, and telling you what questions that you could ask them from what you can't ask them. What kind of madness is that? Who working for who here? Who it is have you there to begin with, Mr. Prime Minister? Look, watch me, too damn early for this, Felicia. Really and truly. I will have high blood pressure again, I'm telling you. Because, and that is what making me sick to my belly. Because these are supposed to be educated people. These are people, even though, okay, you have committed misbehavior in public office in the past. Okay, we know this. Every administration. The point is, brother, as prime minister, You must have a point in time in your life, in your responsibility as a prime minister, to see the environment that the people that you have tended to take care of and to oversee and have responsibility for as 1.4, 1.5 million Trinidad and Tobagonian nationals, people of the soil. You need to take a step back, brother, and truly assess the environment that we are in and put things in place in reality, where the people can really experience and have something better and have something more secure moving forward in this type of environment, not still misbehaving and still giving people lies and misdeflecting and all of this bubble taking place. Again, these people are constantly showing us that they are not respectful to the people that have them there in that parliament. They are not responsible for the portfolios that they hold that has been bestowed to them by the people of Trinidad and Tobago. You, as the government, you seek the interests of the all, not put us in a position where people are still suffering. We have no idea as to the direction we are going as a nation. And you have business people, businesses crashing and burning. You have people, listen, the place, I keep saying, this government is doing everything in their power to create a chaotic environment in Trinidad and Tobago. And I simply cannot understand why is this under the sun. Why is this government? And we are including in this government the UNC because they are opposition. They are supposed to be keeping the flame under the damn feet of the government, keeping the government wheels on the track, ensuring a level of transparency, accountability. But the opposition is not doing this. Why? Why? And we as the people
The
must sit down and
question,
just feel.
maybe that should have been the question of the day. Why is the opposition not keeping this government accountable? At least not on the level that we here trying to do on Pep Talks in the morning, on Plain Talks, in the Progressive Empowerment Party, the social media activists that I see, the activists who I see standing outside the Prime Minister's residence in St. Anne's there. Or is that the president? Where are they standing? I think it's outside the president's, the entrance to the residence. And they're basically protesting what we are talking about on this show in a nutshell. They are talking about, we should open the economy completely. The Manufacturers Association, I see they're getting their opening tomorrow, but we still have a lot of small businesses. And I mean, I know we started off talking about the United States government. But everything Anthony just raised is a fact. All of this is happening. All of this, if you ask me, it is, and I agree with you, Anthony, it's unnecessary drama, unnecessary inconvenience, unnecessary everything in the face of what we are already dealing with on a national level, and not just dealing with, but dealing with, in the opinion of many, in the opinion of the people who feeling it the hardest, dealing with it rather poorly. So we're here fighting about who said what and who did what and who invited whom, and all of these plays are being made on levels that the average citizen could only watch and see as a distraction from what is actually taking place on the ground. And I mean, I opened the show to anybody to call in, businessmen, people who are being affected by COVID-19, because that's the situation of what we're living through right now. We try to make it bearable, but for many people, this is a very trying time. And I, I'm trying to imagine what it is like to be one of those people right now who is just desperately waiting for your grant, waiting for some kind of assistance, seeing your bills piling up, and having to open the papers every morning and see some back and forth between your ministers, the people in charge, the people who are supposed to be right now talking, reviving the economy, who's supposed to be talking plans to get the middle class people working again, plans to get the small business owners working again. Yet again, we hear in the middle of a bacchanal that should not have happened in the first place. I, I, we, if we agreed, we signed, or we're part of a body that has imposed sanctions on a body, another country, another body, I cannot understand how this was even allowed to happen. And I keep asking the question, where is the Minister of Foreign Affairs and all of this? What is he doing? What is he saying? And shouldn't that be his job right now? Shouldn't the cabinet be letting him do that job, dealing with our international relations, dealing with our relationship with the United States through the ambassador, while we figure out how we are taking our country forward? And out of this discussion comes the question of the day, which is, do you have faith in the government to revive our economy? Because despite all of the nonsense happening right now, we are still facing a very bleak global outlook. And Trinidad and Tobago, the discussion every morning, the discussion on every headline every day should be, what are we going to do different to be able to weather this storm? And I am not hearing that. The citizens are not hearing that. And at some point, yes, all of this is happening and it is important because, I mean, it's a complete blunder in terms of international relations, if you ask me. But United States, they also dealing with their own COVID-19 drama. Maybe that's why they took so long to shine their torchlight on us here in Trinidad and the nonsense that we are doing. But they're dealing with their drama. We need to, at some point, we need to face that we aren't dealing with ours. At some point, we need to face that the economy has to restart at some point, and it's going to restart with many people being on the breadline. We're not hearing about it in some cases, but you're not hearing about it in some cases where people are being laid off quietly. People are messaging me and telling me, oh, I got calls for my birthday, and asking people who I didn't get to catch up with in a while, how you doing? Well, I'm not working, so and so again. And again, things you're not hearing in the papers, but pockets in society, and bigger pockets than you would expect. It don't necessarily have to be the big names that you're hearing on TV, but pockets of people would be facing unemployment come the end of COVID-19. Come the end of these restrictions, and phase 6 is over with, and the all of the restrictions have been lifted, the borders are reopened. We're going to face something that we as Trinbagonians need to look towards strong leadership to weather us through. And as it is right now, I don't know what we can count on in terms of the level of stewardship or leadership that we have right now. And we're putting the question out there to you, the public, to answer as to whether you believe this government can revive the economy post COVID-19 or not. So, moving on to the next topic of discussion, I am sticking to the this failure of a government. I am seeing the new episode, the new issue of the Young and Restless drama, which is Leigh Hunt, who would have resigned as the Minister of Public Utilities back, well, just 2 days ago, Sunday, well, 3 days ago, is now saying that he is hoping, or he is running for the seat, his MP seat. Is it Library that he's running for?
No, no, I think he is in Sama Bataria. No, no, not Sama Bataria. Um,
I'll open that particular seat, but maybe I saw the ridiculousness of what is happening and did not get to read all the way through. But I know he's going back up for a MP seat, and it raises the question. We asked the question, when was it? Monday, is this PNM government falling apart? And Anthony, you likened it to the chess pieces being moved around on the board. But I have to say, these are some very odd chess moves. But normally when you play chess, you play to win. I am not sure what some of these moves are supposed to indicate, because we're bringing on some, I guess, what's supposed to be the superheroes in all of this, and I'm still waiting to see the substance. I'm still waiting to see how any of these moves are going to make a difference to the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. Some of them literally being shuffled around, I see Mr. Anthony Garcia as well as saying he's going back for an MP, and I am like, I was hoping this dinosaur had intentions of resigning. I mean, because how much worse can you mess up our education right now? What I
And is
can't
he
believe
still going to
that.
hold on to that portfolio? That is the worrisome
Listen,
question, because education is an important part of our society. Yeah? That's where we can have that is starting point of proper development for our nation, is being able to give our youths and young people the hope and opportunity, the information and technologies needed in order for them to be the instruments of our development that we strive for. But again, what has this man done for the time that he's been in office, holding that portfolio? Such an important portfolio at that. I mean, yes, people talk about Kamala giving out the laptops and all of that. Yeah, all well and good. Okay, okay, Trinidad and Tobago. Yes, it was a good initiative by Anti-Cams, but again, the job in itself could have been a lot better. The quality of laptops could have been a lot better. The implementation of the laptops could have been more integrated and much better. Again, there wasn't a great level of longevity with these laptops, and it was not implemented where information and the teaching process is concerned. You still had your children walking around with 100 pounds of books in the bag, and I mean, it just simply was totally out of control, and nobody leadership was able to be able to hold on one second. I just got thrown up there. Sorry. To be able to really, make any sense of the nonsense, then, you know what I mean?
but with that laptop situation, every time it raises, I tend to gloss it over because I feel as if it is too as the who was it, boy? I believe the Privy Council had used this line in the reading of a judgment that was I can't remember who won the judgment. He was on Philip Show, and his name is escaping me. But I remember the line they used in the judgment was, it is too obvious to need stating, and that's how I feel about this laptop situation. It's too obvious to need stating that if you have a system as great as it is, and you have people who are corrupt and not interested in making a system work to the benefit, not just to the benefit of people who financing and reaping from the investment in these things, but people who actually supposed to get it, the people, the children who were supposed to use the laptop, the parents who were supposed to help the children use the laptop. It is too obvious to need stating that if you don't have the right intentions going in, as great as the system is, it will fail, it will collapse, it will fall apart because you're going to find every way to make a dollar off of something that is actually supposed to be going towards the benefit of the people that you're buying it for. And guess what? As usual, with many things that happen in Trinidad that we try to copy paste here, we try to copy paste it into a broken system and then wonder why it failed. Laptop initiative was great. The management and the handling of the rollout and the implementation and the systems to back the laptop system was an absolute failure. And I feel like it again. It is too obvious to need stated. But Anthony, going back to the other Anthony, the Anthony Garcia, not your Anthony, the man who probably makes you feel shame to be an Anthony.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Going back to him, the idea that he still thinks that he should be a minister and he's going up to Arima. And I was right about Hunt. He's going up for his seat in Labre.
And Labre.
Yeah. But with Anthony Garcia, I mean, I don't think I have ever found or met a government minister more sure of themselves than that man, and more sure and more unaware. He has to have the thickest skin in history because, I mean, the fact that he's known and the article is stating that there's a references to him being a dinosaur means that he has to know that he's outdated and the people not very interested in him. And as it is right now, because of all the drama that's going on with the Minister of National Security and all of these chess moves that the PNM is making right now in terms of their candidates, etc., and trying to announce candidates, I guess we're distracted from the fact that school and SE and CXC and CAPE is still an issue very much at the forefront, and we're giving him a little time to catch himself while we deal with
What?
the
Why?
others. But
Why?
no,
Why
no,
are
no.
we giving
I
him
wouldn't say we're
time?
giving him because we haven't raised the issue of education on this show in a little while. But I do want to raise it now because it's not that I didn't want to raise it, is that so many other things were happening, but it has to also be raised because now he's back. He's in the news, making news for the fact that he wants to run for MP. And I mean, if I had to judge him on the work that he did as Minister of Education, I would say he has failed. Anthony, I was talking to a colleague. I don't even call who this person is in terms of their relation to me, but I was talking to somebody who has a daughter who's going to a secondary school, not considered one of the prestige secondary schools, but supposedly a good or fair average secondary school, if you want to use that word. And she's stating that the child has not gotten, well, in the first few weeks, that the child was not getting any lessons to learn. And it was only after she managed to make contact with the child's teacher after maybe a couple weeks that she found out the teacher was sending some students lessons and her daughter was not receiving because this teacher did not have her daughter's WhatsApp number. So she was unable to follow the curriculum or the lessons of the day like some of her other classmates would have been allowed to. And if it were not for having a friend who has a daughter who goes to a prestige school, was willing to share her notes with her, that her child would have been completely left behind. And I mean, sounds like a very convoluted way to say what we said from the start, which is that we are leaving so many of our children behind. The same people that we are ignoring and saying all is well, we are handling COVID-19 perfectly. Mr. Garcia got a break, but I'm bringing this to the forefront again. Are we creating, or have we created a situation, or have we created an environment where we again have a differentiation between those who are getting access to education and those who are not? And I mean, it is too obvious to need stating, and the answer is already yes. Because if we have a case where some students are not don't have access to the information, some students don't have internet, they don't have laptops at home because we were not able to manage a simple laptop process, are we leaving behind our why are we leaving our children behind? Let me put it like that, because I see that they still have to do examination. Come examination time, what is going to be the situation for those who were not able to get the lessons or get the education or the curriculum or the modules that the other students from maybe prestige schools or those who the teacher had their phone number were able to get? And sorry if it seems like a rant, but I don't rant often, and this one, it got me really upset in particular because I don't like the whole issue of those who have and those who don't have, and those who get better education versus those who don't. Because we are one country, and children don't. They shouldn't have to, they shouldn't have to fall behind because we, as the people responsible, are not able to manage their growth, their development, their education as we should. So coming back
Yeah.
to Mr. Anthony Garcia, coming to say that you're running for an MP, you're not my constituent representative, you're not my MP, but judging from your failure as a Minister of Education, you should be taking this time to bow out to politics. You should be telling somebody else May the next man, the better man win. Your turn, Anthony.
No, but you're absolutely right. You are absolutely correct. We don't have a proper system in place that can scrutinize the people in public offices, where we are able to determine if we are not able to have them removed within the 5 year tenure of their time serving. At the end of that period, there must have some level of scrutiny to the public as to the performance of these individuals who hold or held a public office, to know and to have a clear line and indication whether this person is competent enough to still hold a portfolio or still go up for a particular seat, or what have you. Again, we are not learning from our mistakes. We continuously put in the same people who we have proof on that has shown us blatantly the level of gross incompetence, as well as the missteps, and again, nobody being held responsible for nothing. So, us as the people, there's nobody that we could go to hold somebody responsible for something. That's why everybody doing what the heck it is they want to do in that parliament there right now and in the public sector. And we were talking on Monday gone, pertaining to Mr. Levan Wassa, and what was the motive and reasoning why such a move was being made. Now we hear that he's now going up for a seat down in Labrie. Again, it is the PNM mobilizing their machinery and putting their pieces on the board where it needs to be. Where have risk is where they have to lean out the meat. And again, if Lee Hunt is holding that portfolio in Wassa, that is the nail in the coffin for him, because there's too much happening in Wassa right now that can explode and come out into the public anytime, at any time. And that in itself will be a nail in the coffin for Mr. Leon. So, as far as the strategy is concerned, I would take it on that note personally, as far as how I'm seeing it. Him heading Wassa is too much of a high risk for the PNM right now. And if it's something that he insists on having as far as still going up for a seat, again, he have to shed all the liabilities he may have in not being able to accomplish his goal. So again, we are just out here not having all the pieces of the puzzle. These fellas, the PNM and UNC, they already have their strategy in play and in motion. And again, it's all backed by a level of funding. Um, it is a very chaotic and crazy environment. This coming election is going to be extremely, extremely interesting one. And again, as far as I see it, they will be spending a lot of money under the table. Who getting payoff? Who getting contract? Wait now, man. All you go see in the next month, 2 months. Let the restrictions relax. They're gonna realize the restrictions are gonna relax at a very feverish pace. And again, that is to ensure the population can be mobilized where they can be mobilized, where contracts could be giving out, and you're putting people to work so you could chain them up and say, all right, well, you give me the contract. Well, yeah, definitely I will go and vote for you. But what we cannot remember is that when that final ballot is called, and whoever reaching that parliament between the yellow and red, life is still as usual for us, the people on the ground. And that is what we are being ignorant and blind towards. And we still want to run down red and yellow and feel like that doing something for us. People, we need to understand that we have done that before, time and time again. And we have had the same result each and every time making those decisions. It is time for us as a people to choose something fresh, choose something new, give something else a chance to bring the betterment for you, Trinidad and Tobago. This whole ball is in your court. You have to make the conscious decision. And again, I would keep saying this. I am not here to be a celebrity. I am not here to try to be a star. I'm here to be a tool to bring a level of betterment and change for the country, for Trinidad and Tobago, for development of our fine nation. So I know my children and my children's children can have a level of hope and opportunity right here and don't have to look to go in any first world nation that they're calling first world right now, like Canada and America and England and all these places. No, no. I believe we have the diamond in the rough right here in Trinidad and Tobago, and it's our responsibility to create that for ourselves. The decisions that we've made in the past have not ushered that in for us as a people, and we have continuously made the same decisions over and over and over. 57, 58 years. Come now, man. There's the year 2020. This is the dawn of a new time. We're in the 21st century, and we need to truly make the decision to usher in change. You have a progressive empowerment party that has been created and geared directly for the people. Hey, you don't want to believe me? Again, you have to take the opportunity in going to the pages where we have our 21 policy, and learning our policies, how it's going to make life better for you as a citizen, and understand it, know that it can actually be a reality once it's implemented. This is a no-brainer here, And again, I'm not forcing people to vote for PEP. I think common sense will prevail, and you will understand and see that PEP does have the best policies on the ground in Trinidad and Tobago right now. Well thought out, straight to the point, directly to the issue, and giving you results and a level of betterment and safeguard and hope and opportunity for the citizen in Trinidad and Tobago. And hold me to it. You can hold me to it. I want the nation to hold me, Anthony Defoe, to that. To hold me to that. Because at the end of the day, that is what we've supposed to have done for the past decades, for every administration coming in and out, every administration and everybody who is saying to us, the years gone by, look, Kamala talked with with her coalition in 2010 to Caroni workers, saying, yes, we're going to diversify the economy, we're going to revive Caroni, we're going to and redevelop our agriculture. Look, 5 years come and go on, it gone. Look, where is he? Seeing anything? Or let's seeing anything? And the Caroni workers still sit down, hand in pocket empty, and what? And what? And Cam's coming back to say what to the people again? What promises is she going to show? Look, the talk just the other day about they're going and bring 50,000 jobs to the population for the unemployed. Really? How, Auntie Cams? How are you going to do this? Explain it to me as a citizen. Forget that I'm in PEP and I am in the political environment. Forget that, because I am a citizen first and foremost, right? That is where I am. That is who I am. And that is what everybody on the ground in Trinidad and Tobago is. Explain to me how it is you put in 50,000 jobs. We here, the Progressive Empowerment Party, could tell you how we are putting 50,000 jobs on the ground for unemployment here in Trinidad and Tobago. We could explain that for you, and we are able to probably ensure that we can employ the entire population, because from one model, we can have 50,000 people employed in Trinidad and Tobago. And we have several models. And again, we don't have all the time to talk about the policies here on the show right now, but take the initiative yourself, Trinidad and Tobago. But anyway, end rant. Let's go back into there, Felicia. Sorry about that.
No need to be sorry. There was a comment on the live by, I believe, Stephen Downer. He made a really good comment, and unfortunately, because of the pace of the messages that are coming in on the live video, it was lost at the top. But he made a very important comment about the laptop situation that I wanted to mention, because he said it's not just the laptops, and he's absolutely correct with the fact that there's no proper internet across the country. There's also the fact that we have these school books that every year you have to be buying brand new books just because two words
Right.
change. And exactly, I have books, Anthony. I will not lie to you. Apart from me being a person who loves books and treats books as if they are living things and treated with a lot of care and respect. Apart from that, there are books that I have that look like it never even left the bookshelf. That's to tell you how it it never cracked. I had it, and I just had it for having its sake. And I'll never forget what purchasing school books in Trinidad around school time used to feel like, which is you go into the store and you just every year you hear, and it's just getting worse. You hear parents complaining, school books real expensive, boy, school books real expensive, boy. And then how much or how often do you use it, and who is benefiting from printing these school books year after year for stupid and silly revisions? and for information that the child would most likely never use, because the book is just, you could use the same copy of the same book from 3 years ago and still follow the lesson. I mean, again, these are things that can happen, that we know and has just become part of the system. And we're going to talk a little bit about Gary Griffith and his, what's going on in his camp. But he said something that I'll talk about a little bit later that I have to agree with, which is that people tell him this is the way things are, and he doesn't stand for that. And we need more people seeing that. We need more people to stop and really reflect on the things that we have accepted as the norm, and realize that is not how it should be. We have accepted that this whole, I guess, the politics and the whole ordeal of having to pay exorbitant school book prices every year for books that your child will use. We have accepted it, but it may be time people speak out about it, because who, like I said, who's really benefiting? We have accepted that we have some children who go to some schools where they learn, some children go to other schools where they get a subpar education. Again, things we have accepted, but it's time we speak out about. We have accepted that we get water on a Monday, a Thursday, and a Sunday, and we learn to live life by filling up buckets and passing the time, hope taking one bath a day if we're in a period where you didn't get water on the Thursday. But it's time that we accept that we deserve water 24/7. It is preposterous to me that we are predicting 6 months of flood in the next couple of weeks, and we have not figured out how to capture, store, treat, and distribute water, so that the same water that flooding people up to their waist during rainy season could run through their taps during dry season. It's something that I see and I get annoyed having to say. It's too obvious. Maybe the name of this show this morning should have been "It's too obvious to need stated." But that's how I feel about a lot of the things that we allow to slide and become the norm. If we really sit back and think about it, think it through, and think about the things that don't work, we as citizens would realize that there's much more that we should be speaking up about, and not just here on Pep Talks, but you as independent citizens as well, standing up for your own interests. Yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And like the person on the comment was talking about, yeah, you don't have a proper system that was rolled out with the dispensing of those laptops to the student body. It was not implemented, like we were talking before, properly within the education system. And again, why it is our children had to still walk with 100 pounds of books in the book bag. If you dispense laptops and you can have a flash drive that can hold, if not the terms work worth of work, you can have the entire year's worth of work, or the entire time that they're going to be in the school. If it's 3 years, if it's 5 years, however long, could all fit on one flash drive. One flash drive. And we still insist on having to buy books, have this hardware of this paper. I mean, let's save the trees, man. Let's save the trees. The point is that we are not being a proactive country in no way, form, or fashion. Education is a key element that we have to put major focus on if we intend to truly help develop and secure our nation, not just now, but really for the future. The youth, that's the future of Trinidad and Tobago. That's the brain of our nation. That's their way of thinking, what's in their heads. This is what's going to propel the country forward. So if we have an entire generation or two that have no education, that have no type of dream or train of thought, or what do you really expect that we're going to have for the future as a nation? I mean, think about it for one little second. I mean, I just don't understand. I really, a nation that had the highest level of education at one point in its history. We had all of this money, we had all of this local brain and mind and academics, sport, music. We have so much naturally aspired people coming out of the womb with such gifts that we just allow not to identify and fall away on the wayside. And we wonder why we are not a developed nation. We wonder why we have the way of thinking that we do have. Um, Come now, man. Really, Trinidad and Tobago. You jump on a plane, you go in certain parts of the world, you realize that the way of thinking there is so different. The people are so different, and we are in awe. We are in awe. Like, wow, this is amazing.
Hmm.
And can't think that we can have this right here in Trinidad and Tobago. We could. Because the same way we could jump on a plane and go and assimilate another country's ways of thinking and just ways on a whole, understanding the laws and the way things operate. And we assimilate that. We become part of that. We can do that right here. And again, is why we at the Progressive Empowerment Party continuously say the next step is to reboot the Republic. Let's switch the lights off, switch it back on, act as if we just got independence, assess everything we have across the board, both private and public, in the nation, that can help develop and push our fine country forward. From this point on, we have the opportunity now. We're backed in against a wall. The global environment is not the same as before. We need to actually look at our nation and look at the resources we have, look at the minds that we have, look at where we are, where we need to go, and what it takes for us to get there. Simple, simple thing.
Well said, Anthony. And um, the point of this show is to continue to educate the public on all of the matters that we raise. I always say that we're not a flowery piece in that we don't come here and we just talk drama and we leave it there. We talk everything that is happening, and we talk about ways it could be better. We talk about what a country, like Anthony just said, what a country that works is supposed to look like. It's not enough to look on the outside and watch on cable and watch on Netflix what countries that function feel like, and clap and awe, and when you travel, enjoy it and then come back home and come back to the nonsense. It's not enough to do that and abdicate yourself of the responsibility of making your own country just like the countries that you travel to. And when I say just like, I'm always very careful with this, because people have told me in the past that we don't want to be like the United States, and it's not about being like anybody in terms of adopting their culture or adopting their way of life. It's about adopting the things that work from around the world. We always say here in the Progressive Empowerment Party, success leaves clues. None of our policies, none, absolutely none, would just send like a vision from God when he sent that vision to Moses to write the Ten Commandments. It wasn't like that. Every single one of our policies can be traced to some country, some point in the world where it works. Our education model alone is based on Finland's model of education, based on the Scandinavian model of education, which wants to do away with the SCA. We think that children should be taught to think critically rather than to learn by rote. This abusive SEA system must go. It puts too much pressure on the children to perform, and they're not even performing, they're literally regurgitating what they are being told to learn. We want to implement a 10-year system where the child can transition naturally into higher grades based on a GPA system that is supposed to track the child from the time he enters the school, he or she, and leaves the school. And that way you can track the child's performance, the teacher's performance, the classroom's performance, the school's performance, and the overall constituency performance when you look at the average GPA of all the schools across one particular constituency. And why are we doing that? We're doing that so we can track and trace what areas need help the most. We can track and trace teachers that maybe are not performing, the child that needs a little extra help because they have a learning disability or are having family issues at home, where now we have a working social development system that can swoop in and plan and have planned intervention if needed in that child's life. And again, none of these things that I'm saying here, none of it was just sent by God from heaven to us. all of it, all of it, all of it, all of it is based on models that work. And it's going to take time to implement, yes, but not because something is going to take time means you shouldn't make the first move. Shouldn't make the first step towards fixing it. And that is Trinidad and Tobago right now. We are definitely going to need time. When we reboot the Republic, it might take work like dial up and take a little while to come back on stream, but at least we're making a step towards and in the right direction. It's 9:01 a.m. We're going to take a break and come back from this. Please, when you rejoin us, share the live video because we are having a very interesting discussion. We're going to raise the um, Philip TikTok challenge when we come back from this break. Tomorrow we're supposed to have the youth on. And we're going to hear a little bit more about that competition, which has now apparently gone viral. Please stay with us. We will be right back.
Antel is Trinidad's most reliable and technically experienced ICT company, providers of quality structured cabling, Cat6 data fiber, and power cables. We also stock cabling infrastructure basket-type cable trays for server rooms and data centers. Antel also installs and maintains video security systems including cameras, alarms, and electronic entrance locks for businesses and residential properties. Call Antel 674-1406 or 783-9250.
Human rights and civil liberties are the cornerstone of democracy. It is no stretch to say in Trinidad and Tobago our justice system has challenged that notion. We have people in this country languishing in prison for years, sometimes decades more than they would have been if they had already been convicted of the offense and given the maximum sentence the law allows. They are citizens of this country walking around with the anxiety of charges over their heads, again for years and for decades. We've been told justice delayed is justice denied. The Progressive Empowerment Party advocates for a speedy justice statute that gives the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, the Director of Public Prosecutions and the courts responsibility for returning human rights and civil liberties to our justice system. We suggest that 24 hours from arrest to charge. We believe that an arrest should not be part of the investigation process and that police should have enough sufficient evidence to warrant the removal of someone's liberty before they arrest them. The Progressive Empowerment Party believes, like most first world countries, that if you have sufficient evidence to deny someone their essential liberty, then you should already be well on your way to proffering a charge. If you cannot charge within 24 hours, you should be made to release. In certain cases where there are extremes, officers of the law should be allowed to apply to judges in chambers for an extension up to 72 hours. Officers that abuse the privilege or who arrest needlessly that never becomes a charge should lose the privilege. Human rights and civil liberties are a cornerstone of our democracy. A speedy justice statute states 24 hours from arrest to charge or release, 6 months from charge to begin prosecution or release, 5 years for criminal matters in court, 3 years for civil matters, or the case collapses. The judges have a responsibility to case manage and not have our cases wandering on aimlessly for years and decades. We need to bring justice back to our justice system. Human rights and civil liberties are cornerstones of a democracy, and the Progressive Empowerment Party advocates for a speedy justice statute that leaves none of our people victimized by a justice system that is blaming incompetence on a backlog as a reason for more incompetence and a backlog. If we cannot arrest and charge based on evidence, do not arrest and charge. If we cannot mount a case within 6 months of the arrest, do not attempt to prosecute. And if we cannot case manage a criminal matter in 5 years, we shouldn't be sitting in judgment of anybody. It is time that this country functioned as a first world nation. It is time that we used our abilities and our knowledge and the assets available to us to create a developed nation out of whatever this is. I am Philip Edward Alexander. This has been 3 minutes to a better TNT.
are back, and starting off the discussion, I want to mention my guest tomorrow. I will have representatives from the youth including the head of the youth one of the co-chairs of the youth Miss Natalia Moore, who is coming on to talk about the TikTok challenge that has now gone viral. It's called the Philip Challenge, and I mean, earlier this year, when the gunman in your hole took flight, I thought and I told myself it is not possible for Philip to go viral again. And I guess I have to eat my words because he is. And for those of you who have not seen the Philip challenge, we will play some clips for you tomorrow. But it's not just about fun and games, even though it is extremely funny and it's a nice challenge to join if you are on the TikTok platform, but it's also serious stuff because it's a lot of youth getting involved in the challenge. And as you know, the youth they are attracting members from across Trinidad and Tobago, young people who, just like themselves, are fed up of politics as it is. It's a nice engaging way. I am going to do my Philip challenge video today, and look out for that. Um, Actually, do not look out for that. I am not sure if I will post it. I told Christian De Leon, who is one of the members of the youth, I told him that I would do the challenge. I never actually said that I would post it. So, like Stuart Young, I have found a loophole in my own words to come back in the system. Anywho, it's after 9, and as you know, we open the phone lines for your calls. Please call in. Feel free to talk to us on anything that we would have discussed. The lines are always open for people to discuss their COVID-19 experience. If there's anything else you would like to touch on, the number is 769-4590. We take calls up to the hour, at least 5 minutes to the hour. So if you do want to call, you're shy, you need to get past that shyness by 9:55. Okay, well, before 9:55. But in the meantime, while we wait for the phone lines, or we give people time to warm up their vocal cords to call in, we do have to go back to the topics that we have on hand to discuss, and one of them being, and I read this one just this morning, that Gary Griffith, our Commissioner of Police, he is stating that state contracts are funding criminals for over 15 years now through government contracts, and it's an issue that he's raising to be dealt with as a matter of priority. Earlier, I was speaking about him saying that he is not letting things be the way it is, and I was speaking with respect to this particular matter where he is saying he's going to go after politicians and ministers and well-known businessmen as well who are part of funding criminals using state contracts. And I wanted to read part of that in part of the article where I got this story. And something that he mentioned in particular, I took a screenshot of it, so let me open it now to read for you. Of course, my phone is going to move extremely slow. Griffith disclosed that the contracts ranged from cutting trees, box drains, drainage and irrigation, construction of roads, repairs to bridges, latrine eradication, fencing, construction of drains, building of homes, homework centers, play parks, plumbing, electrical repairs, construction of car parks, demolition of centers, recreational ground maintenance, painting of state buildings, security provider, and construction of walls. These are some of the state contracts, some of the work that criminals are getting paid for via state contracts, an issue that Commissioner Griffith has raised that has been running for over 15 years. And he did mention that Keith Rowley has this information, so I guess it was submitted to him as a report, and Keith Rowley is not happy with this info and wants it to end. And My first thought was, after so long, you're just realizing that after 15 years, you're now just realizing that it is criminal to pay criminals money when you know that they're using said money to run illegal. I mean, it
Felicia,
is too obvious to be Satan. Go ahead.
we right now have finally gotten a commissioner of police that is willing to open the book on certain issues and problems we are dealing with as a nation. And the issues that he has raised is, again, yes, something that we've known, that we've dealt with for decades. Is the status quo of most political entities passing through that parliament or vying for office, between PNM, UNC, and a couple other entities that was in existence at the time. Again, we talk about voter padding in certain constituencies. We talk about how are they able to mobilize people in certain constituencies and having numbers locked in a certain type of way. And again, the mechanism that they're using is the state contracts. If you give it to, let's say, a community leader, as they like to call it now, that's a new term, of our gang members and the gang leaders and so on. They are community leaders. Okay, Trinidad and Tobago, let's not get it wrong here. And the point of that is that, again, they have such a heavy influence within their own areas, villages, neighborhoods, and what have you. This is basically the bridge between government or the state and a particular body of people having influence in a particular constituency, town, village, or environment. Is how they are able to lock votes. And again, where we are concerned in the Progressive Empowerment Party, we talk about reform across the board politically. And again, how we operate and what is allowed being in office, and how it should be scrutinized, the level of accountability and transparency that we must insist on. Listen, this is the environment that they don't want. What the Progressive Empowerment Party has been brokering for the last 4 years is why they are not happy with us. They don't want our message to get out there into the public, because again, it means to say the way of life that these entities has known it will change under a Progressive Empowerment Party administration. And there's a lot of players on the ground in Trinidad and Tobago that just don't want that. But what we are seeing is that elections should be fair, elections should be right. It is the right of the people to choose the better of what is available to them, and not be targeted for that. And again, it's a matter of how we think as a people. This is something that needs major redevelopment, because the mentality of the people is, we have the old saying that we continuously see, we are like a crab in bucket. And it's the truth. It is the truth. That's what we have created as a society in Trinidad and Tobago, and constantly creating lines and so on. Again, the handout mentality we must move away from. We should have minimal people, if anybody at all, in a program such as the Unemployment Relief Program, URP. Yes, it's been created there for people who are out of work in order for them to get something, but now it's more like a career for some people, for some areas, and citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. It's a career.
but
That's what
but
they sit and they wait on.
not just it being a career, it's been, and from what we're seeing, it's obviously been weaponized. It's been used as a bargaining chip for community leaders to get access to
To get votes.
government. Yeah, and I mean, call a spade a spade. The a part of the reason why, and when I say citizens, we need to talk about the things that we know that are too obvious to need stating, but it's so obvious that we often forget that we have to bring it up, and that being one of the things that we definitely have to raise. What CPAP and URP have turned into, what the HDC has turned into, and I hadn't noted as a footnote because it's not even worth a full discussion. And I see they had a house distribution, some homes were distributed over the past 2 days, and the way and the fact that it's being done now, the irony, and I mean we see it every election coming. People get contracts in CRP, people get contracts in URP, people get homes from HEC, and the government buy-in and the political party bargaining chip of using these things to not only try to purchase votes, because that is in essence what you're doing, using housing and home ownership as a political tool, but as well
Using the people's money
making from
as a political
using the
tool.
people's money as a political tool, but as well involving and I guess entangling the government with known criminal entities. And I mean that Gary Griffith has to raise the fact that they know of these people, they know of the people receiving the money, the names that have benefited from this, and they are known criminal elements, but being unable to go after them because of their ties to close political people in politics should be testament and evidence for anybody who's confused that they are dealing with political entities that have an interest, a vested interest in criminality. They are
But
a
not only
part
that,
of it.
not only that, Felicia, Gary also
Mhm.
knows that we have a major problem within our judiciary, within our laws, how we prosecute. We just had a little infomercial there, Better Trinidad and Tobago in 3 minutes with Philip during the break.
Mhm.
And it made a lot of points where the environment we are dealing with, not being able to have cases heard and people prosecuted, and it just costing the state, or should I say costing the taxpayer excessive monies without any type of results. And again, that's where we also have to have a level of development. We have to have a level of reform, major reform within the judiciary of Trinidad and Tobago, to ensure that the laws have teeth, that they can actually work, that people can now be prosecuted misbehaving in public office, doing any type of corruption. The point is that we have always targeted the small man as the example for the nation, for others to see, not ever going for the ones on top. And that's because there are too many loopholes within the laws that we have in Trinidad and Tobago. We have nobody on the ground within the law fraternity that has the will to take certain cases and being able to prosecute. And in some cases, not just them not having the will, they may even have the will, but again, the system is so broken and frustrated. The point of the matter is that we just can't get the end result that we are actually looking for where laws are concerned. Where, again, you arrest a man today, out on bail tomorrow. In some cases, you can't even go and arrest the man. And that is the point. That's the point. Because it's not to
Or
say
they
Gary
charge
or any
drop,
other,
or they
it's
drop
not to say
charges
any other,
because there was an error in filing the documents. You ever heard that one? There was an error
yeah,
in the filing of the court case, so the case had to be
yes,
dropped completely. Seriously?
exactly. Exactly, that's the point. Exactly. There are too many loopholes to make it easy to have a case either thrown out or someone not being able to be prosecuted. This has to this have to be scrutinized in order for the TTPS to really work properly and for the real examples to be placed into the public to know. And again, we have to target the top. We have to, because we keep saying it is not the man on the block with selling the little 20 play and 50 play of marijuana or what the case might be, is the ones bringing in the millions of dollars worth of cocaine passing through the system, passing through the country. It's not these small fries, it's much bigger fish. And the point is that we have ideas, we have indication as to places we can go, people we can scrutinize, people we can possibly even arrest and interrogate, who are on the top rung of society. But the laws, does it permit it? The fraternity in itself that's supposed to uphold the laws, are they able to permit it? The point is that we have too many issues across the board, and is why we continuously say reboot the republic, scrutinize everything across board in Trinidad and Tobago, do a proper audit across board where assets, where just everything is concerned, systematically rebooting everything, creating policies and protocols, changing and amending laws that make greater sense in the 21st century. That's all we are saying. We cannot continue operating as if it's horse and carriage that we have pulling on the road, and that we so backyard that we Prime Minister had to pull out a phone in the middle of a news conference for the nation to hear, like if this is something that we're supposed to give an applaud for. Yay, you have a smartphone that people could hear with his little mic. Come now, man. Really and truly. Really, I am ashamed to say this is my Prime Minister. I telling you. Because if that is the best
He
that we
really
can do,
embarrassed us with that one.
really
That was
and
really
truly,
embarrassing.
really and truly, you couldn't take the narrative from that said recording that you had on your phone and create a slide or a projector system or have your own writings towards the narrative and present it in your own words, in your own way, and indicate that this information was brought to us from X, Y, or Z. Not pull out your phone and you have people calling you on the phone in the middle of the conference, in the middle of you trying to show people what is that? What madness is that?
Anthony, I thought I was the only person who thought that was really, really super awkward and really embarrassing. But I'm glad that you raised it because, I mean, there's sometimes you have to know that you're walking into a meme. You have to know that by the time you even finish play that voice note, you are
Yeah.
going to be a meme circulating on Trinidad and around Trinidad and Tobago and even globally because from all over the world people were pointing me to the different memes. And I mean, it was a memeable moment because he looked absolutely ridiculous. And I
Retarded,
mean,
I
that's
tell
a,
you.
and also make a point that anyway, back to the seriousness of the matter though. I mean, he in many ways Keith Rowley has made me very, I would say,
Ashamed.
embarrassed as you would say. He's my prime minister.
Yeah.
But with that particular incident, his colors really. I mean, when you have to compete on an international stage with some of the world leaders that we have right now, I guess he maybe have some saving grace because I swear to God, something went wrong in the world in the past 10 years, something that none of us could have predicted. But
Yeah.
we are literally living episode of The Simpsons right now. The world has gone mad. And just look around at some of the people that in charge. I mean, we have living dictators as it is right now, and it is mind-boggling to me that that is happening in 2020. We have government censorship. I mean, I know this program discusses mostly regional and well local news to a lesser extent regional news and some international news, but at some point you have to look at what is happening globally, and globally there's some power plays and some countries that things are happening that it in terms of government censorship in particular,
Yeah.
and I bring that up because it all comes back to home. It comes back to where Trinidad seems to want to be adopting through this administration some of those policy behaviors that is slowly but steadily turning us into a dictatorship. Anthony, come on, take the floor. And
Listen,
don't forget you
listen,
can call
listen.
me 769-590.
You said it perfectly just now. There are world leaders making certain motions and moves. Look, just in recent time, I believe it was last month or the month before, you have China, Russia, I think a couple other countries as well that are now actually making trade between their countries with their own local currency. Now that's a big, big deal because the global currency has been the US dollar around the world. Now,
Yeah.
when you have large players such as China, such as Russia, such as big, big economy movers, now making such deals and making such initiatives and moves, that puts the US under a major, strain. And that is going to have a ripple effect on a global scale. where the economy is concerned in itself, which in turn will affect Trinidad and Tobago also. So now we're talking about redevelopment of Trinidad and Tobago. We are talking about our leaders being aware of the international environment that we as a nation operate in. We have the example of the US and the sanctions between the US and Venezuela. And again, the state is constantly showing the level of missteps, gross incompetence of simply doing whatever the heck they want to do and not expecting to have some repercussions from those actions. Now, you are redeveloping the nation. I think that's a great idea. And that's just me personally being able to trade in your own currency. Because as it stands right now, Trinidad and Tobago money is not worth anything anywhere else in the world. There's no bank, no financial institution that is willing for you to change TT dollars into any other international note. Period. Period. And that says a lot. So now, if you are talking redevelopment of Trinidad and Tobago, isn't one of the things that we should look at is how we can empower our dollar, our local currency of the TT dollar, whether it means for us to be able to conduct some level of trade within just our region. Let's start there at least, where we don't have to have such a heavy influence and backing the dollar directly onto the US dollar. Again, we are talking redevelopment of Trinidad and Tobago. We're not saying this is the direction to go, but it is certainly something that we should look into. Our economists and people within the financial sector take the time, check it out, get information, understand how this model possibly works. If there is a greater benefit for Trinidad and Tobago and the TT dollar, where again, we can empower the people on the ground having a dollar that actually have value and spending power. This is the environment we need to create in Trinidad and Tobago right now, in our history, right now, to be done right now. Not next year, not the year after that, not 5 years from now. Right now. Because the opportunity to do that, to fabricate such an environment, is now. We need to scrutinize the environment that we are in. And our leaders continuously, and we are saying it again and again and again, is showing gross incompetence as to how they are able to move our country forward. It is plain as day. Plain as day. Look, we're up to now. We need to feed the nation. We depend heavily on imports in feeding our country. We still up to now can't restart our agriculture sector. We still up to now can't sit and have talks with the farming sector in Trinidad and Tobago, with farmers across the board, 100 and something, 200 and something, however many, 1,000 farmers. Why are we not having that discussion with them now? Putting systems and models in place, initiatives and programs in place to influence even more of our population to get inserted and have interest within farming, within agriculture. So this way, because again, the number one priority we have to seek for our population is to ensure we are able to feed our people. Feed our people. That is number one priority. So how are we not? We still dragging with feet. We still saying down with we 22 dream team, man. Tell me how much of society have they sat down thus far after that announcement, talking to key people from the small man to the medium size to the corporate size to know exactly what type of model we're supposed to roll out in trying to redevelop Trinidad and Tobago, to try to restart the blasted economy for the population, for small business people, for medium-sized business people. Look, we have companies, you said earlier, that letting employees go right now. And there are several different reasons for that to be taking place. Okay, we understand that. But again, you cannot talk redevelopment and not have the talks with major players on the ground, from small, medium, and large, in knowing what their position is, what they can offer towards the redevelopment of Trinidad and Tobago, and helping employ the population, as well as jumpstart the damn economy and push money through the system and make the dollar have some level of bloody worth for the people on the ground. That is the agenda of the day. That is where we are supposed to be. That is the kind of discussions we are supposed to be having right now. How are we able to diversify the economy with the environment that we presently have? Who are the key countries we can have dialogue with in knowing if we have something that they may want, and how are we able to get that to them at the best price that we can benefit as well as they can benefit? It's not about digging out anybody eye. It's about being fair across the board, having a level of longevity where business and development is concerned for Trinidad and Tobago, its infrastructure and the nationals on the ground, business people, both private and public. It is redevelopment, real redevelopment, something that should have been done the day the red, white, and black had gone up over 58 years ago. The Chinese say the best time to grow a tree, to plant a seed, was 20 years ago. The next best time is now. Trinidad, we cannot wait. We have to make a serious motion and come together, identify as Trinbagonians across the board, speak in one voice, and create a proper direction for Trinidad and Tobagonians to actually have for themselves. It's that simple. It's not rocket science. And if we are putting people into an office to seek the interests of the nation and the population at large, we have to hold them to account. We have to hold them responsible for where we are as a people right now, where we are as a nation right now. It is our responsibility to do that. So don't think twice, because the position we are in, it is our fault as the people, because we have been the ones to allow this to happen because of ignorance, division, racism, and corruption. We allow that, Trinidad and Tobago, and it's time that we stop. We stop that. No. We need to come together and fix Trinidad and Tobago and have the paradise everybody talking about, everybody want and see and aspire for. We can have it, and it's only us that can give it to us. We need to want it, and I will leave it there, Felicia.
Indeed. 769-4590. Call in and talk your talk. We would love to hear from you. I just, at this point, before I go back to the topic, want to shout out some of our PEP regulars on the thread: Rose Chong, Nigel Phillips, Denise Xavier Phillips, who's the head of our PEP New York chapter, and Charmaine Perez, who's one of our newest peppers. I believe she would have recently joined the PEP New York team. I always big up all of my foreign members. I believe 3 out of those 4 people I just called are based overseas. And I give them a lot of kudos and praise because they have left this country for whatever reason. They had to leave. Most of the stories, when you hear these stories, is that they left to pursue greater opportunities abroad. I lost, and every time I say it like that, I have to retract my statement because lost songs like they departed the world. But I had to see 2 of my very best friends leave this country because of a lack of opportunity here. And it had nothing to do with education because they went to some of the very best schools. It just had to do with a country that is not advancing to the speed of the world that we are adapting, that we are turning into today. It's not, I mean, as simple as technology. That alone is it puts Trinidad at a great disadvantage. The fact that we're limping along in terms of technological advances, in terms of the turn of the world right now. The world is looking towards renewable energy, and one of my friends actually, she's a doctor in mechanical engineering, and she's doing massive work where she is based abroad. And I mean, the technology she herself wanted or wants to bring back to Trinidad and Tobago is things that are puts her in light years ahead of where we are currently at, still talking fossil fuels. She's talking building wind farms in Toco and harnessing the energy of the wind that we have on that side of the island. I mean, when you're dealing with people who have plans like that, and not just have the plans, but the willpower to implement them, when you're dealing with people like that in a system, in a political system, in a social system that is based on corruption and nepotism and who you know, and give that one that contract so they can do the same job that you can do, but because they're my family and friends, they get in it, and because of that I get subpar service, or I get the service but not without greasing the hands of everybody who had to pass through
Yeah.
to get a piece of that contract. When you're dealing with people like that, when you're dealing with situations like that, there's no wonder that we have people just leaving this country. I believe they say we have what, a couple 100,000 people, Trinbagonians, who have migrated out of this country. And looking at that number alone, it's testament that we we here, or what we have here, could do with a serious facelift, and that is putting it
Yeah.
very simplistically. It's very as a very simplistic answer or way to state what is really going on here in Trinidad and Tobago. But with everything that I'm saying, it's all to say that we are not we have not been building a country that is really keeping up with the rest of the world. And I don't expect us. I have to continually say this and bold it and put it in italics, underscore it. I don't want Trinidad and Tobago to be a little America. I just want a country where, according to Shami and Perez on the live, house our people, feed our people, educate our people, and make sure they have a proper healthcare. I mean, what little again you could ask for. That in a nutshell is all we need. House our people, and I will add to that, secure our people. Secure our people, make sure that they don't have to go to sleep in the nice house that they were just able to purchase and wake up and find that half of their furniture and appliances and electronics gone because they're living in a country where everybody is doing well. It's not a fight down scene, not a who have versus who don't have. Everybody's living a comfortable enough life, and no, not socialism, but I would say responsible and ethical capitalism in such a way that wealth is distributed across the board. You don't have those who have no opportunity now turning to a life of crime and denying those who have access to opportunity, denying them the privilege of living a happy life because you now come into torment and stress out their life by holding them at gunpoint to take their car or robbing their homes, or they getting caught up in some gang crossfire. That's what basically, as Trinbagonians, these are the simple things that we should want for ourselves. It's, again, very simplistic, but it takes, voting a government that has the interest of having these things implemented. For Keith Rowley to say that this is he's not happy with this is a euphemism to say the least. You're not happy with something that you had to have known was going on for so long, that it stems from our narcotic economy, our narcotic drug trade system that has influenced and infiltrated our economy and created a second economy. It's infiltrated our politics. You go on and on and on about all the things that don't work, but I could also tell you about the things that do work, and a group of individuals, an organization that is committed to making sure it works and doing so by doing it the right way. And the right way is the hard way because we are funding ourselves, the Progressive Empowerment Party. We're throwing our barbecue, we're raising our donations member by member. And I have to say, the kind of people reaching out to us now, reaching out to come on board the PP, reaching out to say, here, hold up $500, reaching out to say, I will support your campaign in terms of, I would tell my people in my community about you. I would, in my house, I guarantee you 5 years. The kind of people who are reaching out to us now, it really gives me hope for this country. And like Anthony said, this upcoming election is probably going to be one for the history books in Trinidad and
It will
Tobago. I
be.
think it will be presented in history what transpires in the next upcoming election. Like I said, 7694590 if you want to call in, Anthony. The floor is yours.
Well, I mean, you said it. You said it just right. You said it just right. At the end of the day, it's really up to the people. We see in time and time again all the missteps that the government is making And again, I would insist on incorporating the UNC within government because they are opposition, and they are supposed to be the body in place to ensure that the government of the day is keeping the wheels on the track. And it's very, very disappointing to see the UNC not taking the it's not brokering for the people, boy. It's very, very, very worrisome. And yes, we know that they are the same coin, just different sides between the red and yellow. But really and truly, boy, I like we said earlier, no matter how much of corruption and everything that has happened in the past, I'm just saying that as a leader, you are supposed to recognize the actual environment that your citizens are in, your country is in, and to truly make conscious decisions in minimizing hemorrhaging where our economy and our treasury is concerned, to ensure we have foolproof systems that can really, really work in bringing benefit to the population, to the business sector, to our economy, to our education, to everything across board. Really not seeing that this time now is a perfect time to really redevelop Trinidad and to bring it to the place that we've always talked about. I mean, we mentioned on the last show, Manning talking about his 2020 vision. We are in the year 2020 and there's nothing to show for us to be anywhere closer to what they were talking about back then. And that in itself is just to show a level of failure. Because you can't have a vision and not set certain goals in a timeline that you can have at least gauge how far or how close or how expensive or how deficient the goal is or in getting to that goal. Nobody to talk about it. Yes, Manning talk about it. Nobody mentioned that after. Nobody say anything towards the redevelopment of Trinidad and Tobago and bringing us to a first world nation and having the things that they spoke about where that 2020 vision is concerned. Look, Trinidad, we are telling you under our Progressive Empowerment Party administration, 100 days after we are in office, you will see a level of difference in governance. You will see a level of difference in transparency. You will see a level of difference in responsibility for one's portfolio. That is what the Progressive Empowerment Party guarantees you, the citizen that choose to put us there to speak on your behalf. What's happening there, Felicia? No, but really and truly, Trinidad, at the end of the day, the final choice is up to you. We have to be able to usher in a level of change. We're seeing all the nonsense, and we can't be okay with it. We really, really cannot be okay with it. I want to see a Trinidad and Tobago that is fixed. I want to be in a country that I can make money, depositing my money in the banks. I want to be in a country that I can actually not sit in traffic for 2 hours, for 3 hours. I want to be in a country, if I bust my big toe, I can get medical assistance and be taken care of as a king or a queen in 5, 20, 30 minutes. And everything is taken care of. I want to be in a country that my children could go to school, come out with honors, and they have jobs waiting for them. They have opportunity and hope waiting for them. That is the environment that I want to live in. And I can't see why, under the sun, every other citizen in Trinidad and Tobago, why they don't want to be in that environment. Why do we have portions of the society that still insists on defending all the BS that has been shoveled our way for the last 57 years? Why? That little contract all you're getting is not something that lasts. You realize you will get it during election time, but the next 4 years after that, before the next election, is salt. All you learn, we ain't learning, boy. We ain't understanding how this thing works. How we've been a fool, been taken a fool for so many decades. We just can't see it. I mean, really, we have to give something else a chance. I am saying give Progressive Empowerment Party that chance. Hold us responsible. We don't want to get into office and talk about what PNM do and what UNC do and what NAR do or what anybody else do in the past. We want to have the narrative and the discussion and the talks all about where we are going to be in the future. How are we going to get there? What's the cost of that to get there? What's the benefit directly the citizen, the smallest man on the ground, can benefit from once we can get there? That is the discussion we had to have. Forget about what happened in the past. We have it in the back of our head. We remember, we know, we talk about it enough. Let's let the discussion be how and where and when we can get to the goal that we seek. And if it's a first world country with the population having hope and opportunity where everything works, we have a mountain ahead of us. And we need to start the job now. We, the people, must wake up and recognize where we are, where we need to go, and what it takes in order for us to get there. The Progressive Empowerment Party is that vehicle to take you there, Trinidad and Tobago. My word. Felicia.
Indeed, because this also comes in light of our last topic for the day. And please, we are approaching the end of the program. We have a poll that is running that has asked the question whether you believe you had faith in this government to revive our economy. If you have not yet answered the questions on that question on the poll, please feel free to do so before we tabulate the results at the end of the program. And like I was saying, that everything you're saying, Anthony, brings us into the last topic of the day. And I had some apprehension about speaking about it, but you are right, and you told me this at the beginning of the program before we started, that call a spade and call it for what it is. And last week we had this, gosh, what is his name, from the OWTU. His name has just literally escaped me. Second time that has
Roger.
happened for the morning. Ansel Roger. Ansel Roger came out as one of the big mouth people, I would have to say, loud voice, loud mouth people, to state that he did not believe that the Prime Minister and the government committed any breach of laws or treaties, or they didn't do anything wrong basically by conducting that sale of fuel with Aruba. I believe Aruba now has pulled themselves out of it, and I forgot to mention that there's an article floating around that Aruba has absolved itself. So that's something I have to go and follow up on today. But Ansel Roger, was one of the first people to come out on behalf of, and I have to say on behalf of, because it could not have been any more blatant that this was a political move. I mean, the OWTU, which was just allowed to purchase Petrogen and rename it Patriotic Technologies or whatever their name is now. They basically were gifted with that free of charge by this particular government, who decided after they had selected the OWTU as the winners of this bid, they decided to turn around and defer payments on the purchase of the factory, which left so many questions, particularly the main one being, how could a company win on a bid for a company on a certain amount of money, and you're saying that they won because they had the largest, they were most, and then come around and say that after they won the bid that they don't have to pay the fee, so that they don't have to pay for the refinery until the next 10 years, which makes the whole process seem so crazy, because then the second runner-up should have been able to access to those same opportunities. But without rambling on that too long, they basically were gifted a refinery for free. So it was no surprise when he came out in defense of what should be something that you cannot defend, that fuel sale to Venezuela inadvertently through Aruba. But we now have this week, following Mr. Ansel Roger, we have this week known, and Anthony will have to talk, I guess, known is terrorist the word? What do you call somebody who holds a country hostage and basically takes over parliament? We have Abu Bakr defending now Keith Rowley in this in this whole saga, and what does it spell in an election period, in a pre-election time, in an election year, when you have a man who was responsible for a coup back well over, say, 30 years ago. Well, this year being 30 years, a man responsible for a coup now in, I don't know, he hasn't endorsed the PNL, but he's coming out in defense of what is happening in terms of this, all of this drama with Venezuela. And I'm raising this as a topic today. Anthony, you still there?
Yeah,
You there, Anthony?
internet,
I'm
internet is giving some problems here.
okay, saying that I'm
You hear
raising
me?
this issue. Yeah, I'm hearing you. First, Ansel Roger coming out and saying nothing was wrong, and Abu Bakr coming out to defend Keith Rowley and his administration as well. As a very, it's a political move to, if that
Yes,
is stated, but it is also a concerning move for me. I am not. I don't know what to make of it. To be honest with you, Anthony, I am. I mean, it's a level of wrongdoing that is defended by somebody, like I said, who has known to basically hold a country hostage. So, what does
yes,
it say when these two people are clearly in some form of collaboration? What does it say in an election year? We were talking
exactly.
earlier about state contracts going to criminals and them being funded through URP and CPAP and community projects and through community leaders. And the way Trinidad and Tobago is going, the way this government is operating, it is, if you're not seeing it, it's a cause for serious union. When I say serious, it's a cause for serious concern.
Yeah, we have to be very aware of it for this year. I mean, at the end of the day, history is what tells. It's no one else but Mr. Baka that take over the country in 1990. We can't say that about anybody out there. So if you're putting yourself into the public and you're rubbing shoulders with a political entity, what do you expect the population to truly think? I mean, really and truly, you have not been held accountable for anything that you have done during that 1990 coup. And that's just my personal thoughts. And like we said earlier in the show, we cannot be ignorant and blind towards it. All the guns, all the what, and all the allegations that has been placed into the public. At the end of the day, we still have to be aware of it. The only thing that we sure to do is die, you know. The only thing. Nothing else is sure. So for us to choose to walk a road of fear because of calling a man name or bringing something that has been placed in the public, I didn't place it in the public. I didn't make up that story. I didn't wake up one morning and say, boy, I dream Mr. Baka take over the country in 1990. There's something that is written in our history. This is something that the population should have in our history books. In telling the
Oddly enough,
population of a
Anthony,
time. What's that?
I was gonna say oddly enough, I attended and left when I realized the where well where I was, but I heard Mr. Barker speak in live at one point in a few minutes of his speech, and I've heard what he said being echoed by a couple known community leaders and known men in throughout Trinidad and Tobago in various pockets of society, which is that there's too much bloodshed and a lot of killing among black youth. And when I hear that statement, I feel it angers me because the only reason for widespread bloodshed and gang warfare in Trinidad and Tobago, all of it stems back to what we have known about this country, which is that we are a narco country, we are a narco state. Guns and drugs is what our second economy, and it is what is keeping the gang warfare alive. We're
Alive.
fueling and adding fuel to that fire by now intertwining these criminals with government entities. And to sit down and call for peace and call for a ceasefire without dealing with the root cause, I always felt it was hypocritical. But it also is, I have to see it as a puppy show, because you can't be that dense to not know that the reason why there is warfare is because the criminals fighting over state contracts and narco turf and turf war and all of this nonsense that we have happening in Trinidad and Tobago. And to sit down again, many things that we know and we see it happening and we stay quiet on it because it's become the way it is. And we here in the Progressive Empowerment Party, we clearly shaking the right tree, because the leaves seem to be falling. But we're shaking it for a reason, because all of these things, everything, every issue, every distraction that we discussed this morning, all of it stems back to why we do not work as a country. Why we will be spinning in mud just over and over, because we have not yet addressed the issues of this country at the core, and the core being the corruption, the narco state that we are, the nepotism, the everything that has made us the failed state that we are. Some say already, but I would like to believe heading to. I want to believe that there are still good citizens who can prevent it from happening. Anthony, we're nearing the end of the program, so you can wrap up on this topic and all the entire show in these next 2 minutes.
Yeah, well, again, Trinidad and Tobago, like we said just now, we can't be afraid, we can't be in fear of our destiny. We can't be in fear of the environment that we're in. We can't be in fear. We just can't. We have to really look towards support between each other, among ourselves. We have to speak in one voice. We have to bring awareness to all the issues and problems that we deal with as a nation, as a citizenry, and have it directly addressed. So if, in my mind, I feel that Mr. Baka, and I'm putting it out there, that if that Mr. Baka may be a stumbling block in helping proper development or proper transparency or proper accountability towards certain things in our nation, I'm not going to look towards that direction for support. But at the end of the day, I'm still not saying that I'm not willing to sit and listen, because he is a citizen. He has a mark in history. And personally, for myself, as another citizen, and possibly one that would be in a possible place that can really bring and usher in change. Yes, I would be willing to listen to Mr. Baka and hear what's his side of the story directly, one-on-one, knowing other players involved in reasoning why he took certain decisions in the past, in 1990. I am willing to sit down and understand, and I'm sure that the population would want to sit down and understand as well. But my point is that we can't be in an environment that we are not allowing people to be responsible for their actions. We can't just be the only small ones on the ground that have to be accountable for our actions. But the ones on top, everybody else that is the movers and shakers, you can't put a finger on them. You can't say nothing to them. You can't call the name and you can't ask a question. Trinidad and Tobago, this is where the change has to take place. We have to be able to have the same law for all, same policies for all, same opportunity, same hope, same everything for one people under one flag, for the haves and the have-nots. End of story, end of story, end of story. But anyway, I will leave it there. Once again, Trinidad, thank you very much. Thank you for listening, for having me on the show this morning. And Trinidad, like I always say, you want to save TNT, vote PEP.
Indeed. I would add to that and say the day anybody known for any illicit activity can say that we're really ready to end this, we're really ready to put down the guns and admit that we have a problem in terms of gang warfare because of the narco trade that exists in Trinidad and Tobago, we're really ready to listen to your plans and your being the Progressive Empowerment Party's plans for creating a whole opportunity within the community so that the young boys in the community don't have to turn to drugs and guns and they've been gang warfare and fighting and killing each other over state contracts. If they, a community leaders, really says that and is ready to back up that action by making the first move for calling for that kind of hope and belief in establishing a new system like this, in calling for the youths to really put gun, not because it sounds nice to see on paper, but because you're really ready to rebuild a society that is focused on uplifting all, a rising tide what goes. And any community leader ready to talk that talk, I would listen to you. Want to say something again, Anthony?
Yes, Felicity, and I love the fact that you just said that. I really, really love the fact that you have said that. And again, one of the key elements that we have to have as a political instrument is a level of communication with the population, all 100% of them, the good ones and the bad ones, because we need to know where people heads are at, and we need to actually come up with real solutions in helping the problems that we are faced with as a nation, as a citizen. And the point of the matter is, yes, the Progressive Empowerment Party have to sit down with those same community leaders and have a clear idea as to what we plan to put in place for real benefit, for real hope and real opportunity in these lowest rung communities, these communities that young people always have to run to these drug dealers or run to the block and have that environment. Listen, look, we just decriminalized marijuana. We have 3 industries we can develop from that with major downstream industries and attached to that. Again, we can empower our young people and to our called local community leaders. I am saying, Anthony Defoe, that we at the Progressive Empowerment Party would like to create a better environment for the young people, for all the citizens, which includes especially the citizens in the lowest rung communities, Laventil, Beetham, Sealot, Labre, Maloney, all these places that we know have major social issues. That is where the bulk of effort of what the Progressive Empowerment Party is trying to create and accomplish, it's going to happen there. Because if you can empower those people, you don't have nobody as robbers, nobody as gang members, nobody toting gun, and nobody trying to bring harm to anybody else. Everybody busy making money, being happy, living a wonderful island life. And that's where we're supposed to be as a nation, as a people. That's my 2 cents there, Felicia.
Well said, Anthony. We are out of time. We're a couple minutes past the hour. We had a poll that ran on the show that asked the question, do you have faith in the government to revive our economy? 6% of you said yes, you have faith. 94% of you said no. That's the responses that's the response to the poll that we ran this morning. I would like to thank you for joining me today, Wednesday, the 20th of May. I will be back tomorrow as of the to discuss our TikTok challenge on social media. So tune in to that, as well as some other faces that you're accustomed seeing on this program. They haven't been here for a while, so they're coming to make a guest appearance tomorrow. I wanted to end with a new trend that I started, which is a thought for the day. And Denise Xavier, the head of our New York chapter, that I was going to mention her in the program today because she recently started at the leadership level of the party, which is basically reminding and giving us some key tips and behaviors in terms of where we would like to be as Trinbagonians. We have to accept that as much as we want to change things, it starts every day with trying to be a better person. I don't believe in, when it comes to being a human being, I believe that it's a gray situation. Every day you have to wake up and make decisions, make choices, but you should always be trying to make the choices that uphold your principles, your ethics, your morals. Always make the decision that benefits all, not just some. And when we start thinking, as better people, when we start thinking of being better citizens of this country, I think individually we can make that change that can come together as a collective and help us move toward a better society. So I wanted to end the show with the thought of the day, which is, and I posted it this morning, I substituted the words you for I because I believe I should be speaking for me and you as well. I personified it, sorry, you as well. You can read it out as yourself, and it goes, if I must compromise my principles to win, then I've already lost. And that's the thought for today. I want you to think about it. Thank you for joining us. We will in the morning at 8 a.m. And remember, during this period of social distancing, let's stay together by staying apart. Bye bye.